do you think you made a mistake by coming out early against Lav and MrGirl and explaining everything first?
Absolutely not.
You said some things about Shaylin, like being an abuse victim, or
I
being
100%
like,
believe that, yeah.
do you? Why? So like the main thing was reading his article, I felt like I didn't understand where he was coming from. Like I couldn't even see what pattern it was that he was trying to provide. He says it's abusive, but I didn't like see the abuse without there being some sort of definition that he was using for abuse. So I asked him what he meant by abuse. Let's see. His definition was when you have power over somebody and you cause harm, or you cause them unnecessary or undue harm with that power. I feel like it's kind of hard to give a definition for abuse, but do you have one?
Yeah, what do you think of when you think of abuse? Give me some, let's spitball for a little bit. I have an idea of mine. We'll see if you...
I think normally I think of some sort of action that's going to cause somebody like long-term damage.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that in these circumstances, when we think about what abuse is, I usually think about abuse as in somebody has like limited power to escape the situation when we're talking about it in this manner. So like if I go to a bar and I get into a fight and somebody like breaks my arm, I don't know if I would call that like he abused me. Doesn't seem to be the case. I usually think of abuse as like somebody has a compromised ability to leave a situation. So like child abuse and spousal abuse, usually there's a severely inhibited ability for the person to escape the violent outcomes, right? That's what I consider abuse, or that's why I would consider that abuse. Yeah.
Do you think his definition's too broad to where it would be like too easy to paint what you're doing as abuse then?
I think it's too broad. I don't even think most people think that's abuse. I think intuitively, I think what I just said is what most people think as of abuse. I think intuitively, my thing is what, even if people don't know it, I think that's what they generally feel. Abuse usually involves some compromised ability to get out of the situation. Where somebody has power over somebody, it's not just enough to have power over it. It has to be like meaningfully powerful in a given thing, and it's got to be able to be exerted in a way to prevent a person from retaliation or escaping, I think.
Okay, so I would assume you hear about his article, you don't think that there's a pattern of abuse there, but do you think there are instances that you would call abusive?
I don't know if there are instances I would call abusive. I'm definitely mean. There's a pattern of me being an asshole. There's also probably a pattern of me being retaliatory. But abuse, I'm not sure. I don't think so, no.
Okay, so you know why he would, though, in these situations. Like, I've heard you say numerous times, if an employer propositions an employee, that employee does not know whether or not they can say no, right? So he would obviously say that somebody who is a smaller content creator, if you proposition them, they wouldn't know whether or not they can say no because they wouldn't know whether or not you would still want them on your stream afterwards, right?
Yeah, potentially. So I think the really interesting parts are like, are there people whose like entire careers are like make or break on like my stream appearances and stuff? And then is there any explicit overtures that I've made referencing that or them referencing that? I think those would be like pretty far and away like important things to establish.
So you think that they would have to say it out loud, or one of you would have to say it out loud in order for people to believe that that's the case?
Probably not, but saying it out loud would definitely go far to proving that both sides like understood kind of like the transaction that was going on, but it's probably not necessary.
Okay. So I guess with somebody like Booksmarts, would you think that it's fair for people to say that his career probably at one point depended on his appearances on your stream?
I think people can profit a lot from being on my stream. Did his career depend on it? Maybe. Did it depend on my friendship? Like, so here's like a weird way to address that. Like, I think there are a lot of people whose careers can depend on me at some point in time, but sometimes that can be in a way that I don't even necessarily consent to. So like, for instance, I think Demon Mama's career at some points, or Keffel's career at some points kind of depended on me, but it's not like I was like consenting to them like farming me or anything, right? So like, Booksmart's it was probably a pretty big thing for him to cover a lot of my stuff. But he didn't even necessarily need to be friends with me to do it, right? I don't know if like him being featured on my stream was like the make or break for it.
So what about MrGirl? Because his content was very different before he started interacting with you. And then he starts interacting with you, and his type of content changes dramatically, where he goes from very like artsy fartsy type of content to streaming and talking to chatters and debating people. So do you think that in the moment he would have felt like his career depended on you? And
I don't know. I mean, like, again, in a way he can benefit from, but I feel like he did most of his stuff like independent. I could be wrong. I might be like mentally rewriting history, but like as much as MrGirl was like a big part of my stream, I don't know if he was on my stream all that much. So like this might be crazy, but in my head, I feel like he was on my stream like less than 10 or 15 times. Do you know if that's right, or am I completely misremembering that?
I think that there were a lot of times where he would just jump in and start having conversations.
I think
with
it happened a lot towards like the Lav stuff. But I don't, I feel like aside from, there was the lab stuff and the Fuentes stuff. But aside from that, I don't know if he actually hopped on my stream more than like 10 times. But I could be misremembering. I feel like Lav might have been on my stream more than MrGirl, I think. But again, I could be wrong.
Maybe. I think somewhere in his article he mentions how many times he went on stream, but I didn't get that ahead of time. So, okay, so then when he would look at somebody like Lav as well, them being somewhat dependent on you, or
yeah, like Lav was completely not dependent on me. That doesn't make sense at all, right?
Yeah, would you say that it's different if an employee propositions their boss?
It probably is, yeah. Would it still be ethical or unethical? Oh, I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that.
I mean, I think I would probably expect the boss. Okay, so this is an argument that I've had with a bunch of people around the internet that are upset with MrGirl. I feel like they're misframing what it is that he's saying. So here, let me think about this. You do agree that the boss in that scenario would be doing something wrong if they proposition their employees?
Yes.
Okay. It seems like a lot of people that I argue with, they don't think that power dynamics ever matter whatsoever. That like it doesn't come into play, not just in this scenario, but even in general. It wouldn't matter.
Power dynamics don't really say much, right? Like there's power dynamics present in every relationship, and sometimes like power dynamics are fine. Like I probably make more money than most girls I talk to. I'm shredded now, so I'm probably stronger than a lot of girls that I talk to. Like these are situations where there's a significant power dynamic difference between the two of us, but it's fine. I think it's not so much that quote unquote just like saying power dynamics. It's does this person have an ability to like destroy you, and it makes your ability to consent or not consent like questionable because they can destroy you. Like that's the worry with the teacher propositioning the student, because if the teacher propositions the student doesn't know if they say no, are they going to be retaliated against in a way that is like going to destroy their life. Same thing with like an employee and employer, right?
Right. So if the employee propositions the boss, would you say that the boss has more responsibility in that scenario to make sure that they've had some conversations, they've laid out some ground rules, they've put some boundaries on the relationship, and that probably both of them have had a conversation about the power dynamics that do exist in that relationship?
Man, I feel like I could be argued out of this at a later date, but I feel like if the employee propositions the boss, I think it's probably fine, because at that point it's on the boss to say yes or no. The employee is like preemptively consenting to the boss by being the one that propositions. So I think if the employee makes the proposition, it's probably okay. That's where I feel, but I'm like lukewarm on that. I could be debated out of that, but that's where I'm at on that.
So I think I agree with you as far as the proposition in and of itself goes. But what happens afterwards is that the employee may not know that if they get fired for something, that they're going to start to wonder if it was because of that relationship or not. And I think that when I ask about responsibility, I'm asking like, do you think that it's the boss's responsibility to make sure that that employee understands that?
I think it's going to depend on ages to some extent, but I'd say, yeah, the boss probably has some kind of like elevated responsibility to make sure the employee knows that like things could get weird if they break up.
So is there, this might be too personal, but is there, did you think you had more responsibility in a relationship with Melina to have a conversation about that sort of stuff, especially when she starts streaming afterwards?
No, not really, because we lived in like totally separate worlds. She wasn't like a streamer. She didn't rely on me for anything. Like she could have broken up at any point and gone back to Sweden and said, fuck you. I don't really think I had much like power over her in that regard.
You don't think just the age in and of itself would?
I mean, a little bit, but I mean, like, she's an adult. Like,
she is an adult, but I had a similar relationship around the same time where I was dating somebody about 9-10 years younger than me, and we had to have like numerous conversations about it, just so that I wanted to make sure that she understood, because I felt like if she didn't understand, this gave me a much it gave me a lot more of an ability to be abusive if I wanted to be. And so
sure, but I mean, like, when I say she understands, like, that's like the most condescending conversation in the world for me to have. Like, Melina, let's sit down and talk about what happens. Like, if I break up with you, like, I could abuse the fuck out of you. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say there.
I mean, yeah, it's
but like, especially like for me, like, there's a whole bunch of issues relating to dating me that are so above and beyond the age thing that I don't know if the age thing is not going to be like a big conversation we need to have. It's probably going to be more related to like my public stream shit and how insane I am individually, more so than like, yeah, like the age thing.
I think generally somebody who's going to be a lot older has a lot more experience and a lot more wisdom.
Yeah, they do.
They're...
Yeah. I mean, if you want to have the conversation, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just not, I don't know if it's like, is it their responsibility for an older person to talk to a younger person and say, hey, if you date me and we break up, like, I'm older than you. I don't even know what does that conversation need to even look like?
I think just putting it out there that those dynamics exist and letting them be aware of it, I would say that it was on me to have that relationship have that conversation with my girlfriend about that relationships to make sure that she understood ahead of time. Because I think no matter what, people are going to look at me as though I'm likely doing something wrong.
Understood what? Like, are you saying that, like, hey, like, just so you know, I'm older than you? Like, well, I'm curious, like, what does that conversation look like?
So I would say, especially like somebody who's like 19, 20, they probably haven't had much of an ability to start a career or like decide what they want to do with their life or have their own experiences yet. And if somebody 10 years older immediately is like getting into a relationship with them, maybe getting them pregnant or moving them to another part of the country or separating them from their family or any of these other things, I would say that these are like traps that older people
I understand,
could use.
But like, I mean, like, what is the? I'm trying to ask, like, what are you talking about?
That is what I'm talking about. Is that like you would have those conversations to say that if these scenarios ever came up, like you might be at a huge disadvantage here. Like you have a lot more to lose than I do.
Okay. I don't know what that conversation. When I say look like, I mean like, what are the actual words? Like, hey, like, my new girlfriend, I want you to know that if we break up, you're more likely to get fucked over than I am?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that you're sacrificing a lot more than I am, most likely.
Okay. I mean, I've kind of had those conversations with Melina. I think when it was for Melina early on, the most important conversation I had was that, like, if she ever felt like things were fucked, she could always leave and go home. Like, I'd fly her back if she needed to, so she wasn't like trapped in the United States. But like, other than that, like, I don't know what other kind of conversation I could have.
And okay, so what about because I don't know much about where like you and Anna, when you guys first started, do you think that there were like any power dynamics at play there that people would expect you to have a conversation about?
No, not at all. I don't think so. She wasn't even like a full-time streamer. She was like a psychology student. She was, I think, 28 or 29 when we first started talking, and she said that her last relationship was an open relationship, so I figured she was like pretty well versed in everything.
Okay. Something that a couple of people brought up to me, they said that that you were upset about Lav leaking DMs or giving MrGirl DMs. I thought I heard you say that like, if anybody had anything that
hold on, wait,
show him.
Those two things were way different. 1 second.
Yeah, giving MrGirl DMs. Sorry.
Yeah. leaking DMs, especially for the purposes of just like sexual humiliation or whatever, is always fucking cringe. But in terms of like investigating, they can do whatever they want. I don't give a fuck. I would expect like Lab probably, I already know she talks shit to everybody she fucking talks to, so she's probably leaked DMs to a ton of people, which I think is kind of shitty. But no, if people want to share DMs for like investigatory purposes or whatever, that's fine. But the two things that I only worry about is when other people's shit starts to get brought up, which is damaging their lives, or when people just leaking stuff just like make me look bad. Like, oh, like here's like a sexting conversation, or here's like some shit just to like fuck with this guy. It's like, okay.
But you were like, because I remember you saying like, yeah, if anybody has anything that they want to share with him, that like DMs or whatever, like go ahead and give it to him, because I'm pretty sure it's going to show that I did nothing wrong, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So you were not upset with her for giving him DMs?
No, I kind of figured they would.
Okay.
That's his daughter. They have no secrets.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so one of the things MrGirl brought up when I was talking to him is Anna's docs and you directing people to Kiwi Farms. Did you know that her docs was on Kiwi Farms when you told people to go to Kiwi Farms?
I don't know if I knew if it was there or not. I might have. What I knew was that Kiwi Farms thread was posted on her, and because there are so many people in my fucking stream that are obsessed with her, that it was going to be like, whenever new shit like that gets released, everybody kind of like slowly talks about it over and over and over again. So I made one announcement on stream because we were on a media blackout for Anna, and I said, listen, this thing got posted. If you want to go talk about it, go there. Don't fucking bring it up in my chat all day. I'm going to ban people that bring it up. Oh, somebody in chat said it wasn't there yet. I don't know if that's true or not, though. But
I've heard conflicting things. Okay. Yeah, some people said that it got there the same day.
Some people are saying, somebody said the docs was posted way after. Docs was later. It wasn't there when you typed that in here. Someone established that. Oh, okay. So that may or may not be true. But regardless, I knew that because it was posted that people would start talking about it a fuck ton. And I was on a media blackout for Anna, and I didn't want like information trickling in from chat about her. So I made the announcement. Listen, yes, this has been posted. If you want to talk about it, go there. Like, don't bring it up in chat all day.
Do you think if you knew that the docs was there and you sent people there anyways, because I would assume you would think, well, it's Kiwi Farms, there's likely to be doxes there. Do you think that would be a messed up thing to do or a wrong thing to do?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it. I mean, if it's already posted and it's already public and people are already talking about it, I don't know if like me mentioning it one time on stream is a big deal or not.
That's true, but Kiwi Farms is kind of like a secluded area of the internet that I don't ever see people like directing people to go to Kiwi Farms. So it seems like most of us understand that place kind of does some messed up stuff, and so we don't really like engage with it very often because there's going to be personal information that people don't want out there on that website. And so yeah, if you're directing people to that, it almost even seems counterintuitive. Like, why stop people from doing it on your platform if you're still going to encourage them to do it? Like, isn't the point in...
Well, I'm not encouraging anyone to do it. I just had to make an announcement, because if I didn't, people would be like asking about it for the next like 2 weeks, because that's how it goes. If you don't make an announcement of something, everybody's just going to make weird assumptions and people are going to keep typing about it in chat. So at some point you've got to just like publicly address it.
But you publicly addressed it and sent them to Kiwi Farms to go talk about it.
Well, I said, if you want to talk about it, go talk about it there. Don't talk about it in my chat. It wasn't like, hey, everybody quick, like go visit there and post about Anna. Like, that wasn't the tone. It was just like, I know this has been posted. Yes, I'm aware of it. Like, get the fuck out. Somebody can bring up my logs if somebody wants to type my logs. But it wasn't like, oh, tee-hee-hee, let's all go to fucking Kiwi Farms and talk about Anna. Like, I know that people don't know the context of the time. I don't know if you know the context of the time, because MrGirl doesn't include any of this. I love Anna. We're cool. Everything's chill, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me get that out of the way. However, at the time, Anna was doing daily streams on me, where every single day she was going live to like talk about me, and there was like nothing I could do to have her not do that. So because she was still doing it, and parts of Twitter and parts of everything else were like still mentioning it, like I figure it's worth it for me to like bring it up on stream. Like, hey, this is a thing. I know it's posted. If you want to go talk there, go for it. But that was my thing. If people consider that doxing or whatever, then fine, fuck it. I don't care. I do it again. But I feel like I had to make the announcement on stream.
I'm saying that you dox her, obviously. But
sure, well, but I mean, some people are saying it's like the moral equivalent. But if people want to think that, that's fine. I don't care. Building, that's okay. I don't care. Like, I have to make some kind of announcement on our stream because people are going to be fucking asking about it and talking about it and typing about it in chat and shit. So I feel like I have to say something.
Well, wasn't the point in the media blackout so that people didn't talk about it as much and it died down?
Yeah, but people still were, because she was still streaming on me almost daily.
So then if you thought people were going to go, like, so Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand. So you're saying people are going to talk about it anyways. You just don't want them to do it in your chat because they're going to get banned for it. So they should go there and do it. But at that point, why even have the media blackout if it's going to be the same either way?
Well, it's not the same. There was all threads, all posts, all chat discussion, and everything was banned. But this was like a super like unique, like a thread had been posted on Kiwi Farm. So I knew that people were going to be typing in chat, like asking about it.
Okay, so you're saying people were going to post about the Kiwi Farms thread one way or the other, and so one way or the other, they were all going to be directed there. So you went ahead and just said, don't talk about this. Here it is.
Yeah, basically.
Now you can go.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying that you didn't want them talking about what Anna was doing, not the Kiwi Farms thread.
Well, I didn't want them talking about either. I didn't want either of that, any of that going on in my chat, because it was like feeding into it hardcore.
Okay. Because yeah, MrGirl calls this mobilizing your audience against women to go and attack them, and I think that
if I wanted to do that, I would have just like explicitly linked it over and over again. Like I could have like done a ton of shit if I wanted to. Like if I really wanted to mobilize, I could just
Well, not if you want plausible deniability. From his eyes, that would be the way to do it.
Doxing isn't illegal. Why the fuck would I care about plausible deniability for doxing? I literally just doxed that girl, fucking the one that threatened to throw egg on me like a fucking week or two ago. Like I don't give a fuck about like doxing. I don't care that much about it. Dude, I fucking have a fucking Islam doxed me the other day and said they were gonna come kill me. Like I don't care that much about it. I guess at the end of the day, my question is like, what do you think that like I was trying to like maliciously direct people there? Because I feel like there's so many better ways I could have done it. I might actually have DMs. Fuck, I should go check my email on my computer server. The person that actually made that thread, I think, reached out to me to ask if I had like any information to contribute, and I think I said like I don't want anything to do with this, but I'd have to go back and check. But yeah,
I'm not saying that you maliciously did it, but I think that even for people who sympathize with you and your side and think that MrGirl is crazy, I think that a lot of them look at this as one of those things where whether or not you were doing it on purpose, this was just a dumb move to where you were likely going to heighten the amount of harassment that was directed towards Anna.
I mean,
and you used your platform to do it.
Maybe, I guess. But like I said, like she was doing streams on me every single day. So at that point, like there was no part of my mind that was concerned about like using my platform to minimize harassment against her. Like my life was pretty insane at that point in relation to the streams that she was doing. Like she got partnered, like doing daily streams on me. Like it was wild. We're cool now. Everything's fine now. Blah blah blah.
But let's see. I forget where this came from, but I guess I typed this out. You say that you enjoy relationships that you have on the side, meaning like besides with Melina, and it sounds like you really care about them. It almost sounds like you enjoy the honeymoon phase of the relationship. Is that the way that you would describe it?
Not necessarily. I mean, it would be nice. I think that having like longer term friendships / relationships are like more fun than just kind of like the shorter term things, for a variety of reasons. But I mean, like my life is like incredibly volatile, so stuff can fall apart like very dramatically and very quickly sometimes, which I guess can give the illusion to honeymoon phase stuff. But like some of my best like friend like side things have been like long term stuff, but a lot of it like isn't super public because it doesn't involve like streamer people or it's like kind of under wraps. So.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, the reason I asked that is because it does seem like there's a lot of shorter term relationships, but they're not like short term, like 1 week, they're like what most people would consider to be within the honeymoon phase. And so when MrGirl accuses you of like being with girls for a while and then dropping them and then sending everybody to go attack them, I guess it would make sense if that was like the part of the relationship that you enjoyed was like getting to know them and understand them and having those like, you don't know how they feel. They don't know exactly how you feel. Like kind of.
Yeah, but the whole narrative behind like going to attack people, I don't understand. I know that like maybe MrGirl doesn't have many like friendships or whatever, but like that kind of stuff looks really bad. Like when I talk to like new girls and shit or new people, like I have to give a lot of backstory for why like I blew up at certain people because that kind of stuff like turns people away like pretty hardcore. Like it's not like a good dating strategy or like hookup strategy when you've got like mountains of crazy stories about you on the internet like blowing the fuck up out of people. Like despite how many people I talk to or trade nudes with or whatever, like people always ask questions like, oh, like how do I know you're not gonna like do this to me or like leak shit on me or whatever. It's like I would never do this like unprovoked. Like these are all like crazy dramas and I'm gonna like explain everything. Like it's not a very like EV plus strategy to like hooking up with people.
I guess, yeah, that's true. But I think lots of people would look at somebody with a lot more clout, like even, Leonardo DiCaprio has lots of stories about what he does with younger girls and just kind of dropping them, and seems.
Well, has Leonardo DiCaprio done anything like bad with like younger people? Is that
not that I know of? That's what I'm saying. Is that like the stories of what go around about him don't seem to stop him.
Well, there's stories. Doesn't he just date young women? That's all he does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
But you already know that lots of people just look at that in and of itself as like being wrong.
I mean, people get like upset about it, but I don't think anybody said that it's like abusive or anything.
I think people look at it as manipulative. I think that
Really?
kind of like So I think the way that you talk about somebody going overseas to find some poor woman who doesn't that would just be happy to be with an American and come back to America. Lots of people would look at like being with an older man, somebody who's more experienced, somebody who has somebody who has clout, somebody who has.
Wait, am I insane? Hold on, I might be totally insane, but it's not like he's dating like random women. Aren't they all like actresses and shit? Like that might
some
be,
of them, I think some. I
like
think
supermodels and stuff.
Some of them have been like supermodels, and then I think I was sent something a while ago where he was like showing up with random younger girls that nobody even knew who they were at first. But I don't keep up with him, so I could be totally wrong.
Okay.
And so you've said a number of times that like if there was a streamer who wanted to have sex with you for clout, that they should just hit you up. You're like, yeah, just hit me up.
Sure, if somebody wants to, yeah, fuck it.
So do you think that there's like no issues with
if somebody wants to be like upfront about the
sex?
fucking arrangement or whatever, I'm fine with it. I'd probably just have the same to my stream though. Listen, there's a chick, she really wants to fuck me, but she says if she does it, she's gonna be on my stream. Okay, fuck it. If she like, that's consensual as fuck to me. Fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. So you're cool. I guess I would think that this is like analogous to prostitution. A lot of people would look at it as like trading some sort of currency for sex. Like, would you look at it the same way and say that you don't have an issue with prostitution then?
No, fuck it. Prostitution sounds based.
Okay. And then the last thing, MrGirl was talking about how he says that like one of the differences for him when it comes to abuse is like it has to feel like abuse, and I think most of us already knew that that's kind of how that was a big part of how he defined abuse. Was
that's kind of weird. I would say that whether it feels like it, I think has almost nothing to do with whether or not something is abusive.
Sure, but you knew that that's kind of what he was going off of, right?
I have
like
no idea.
You knew he was looking. I felt like I knew early on that he was just looking at things, and if it felt like abuse to him, then he would likely call it abusive. Because even in the conversation that you and him had about Nick Fuentes and the subreddit, he was calling the way that he was getting banned there abusive, right? Mm-hmm. And it was all about the power dynamics between the two of you. And then when he kind of like conceded all of that and said he just wasn't going to talk to you on stream anymore, it seemed to me like he came back with the same exact narrative, just with a bunch of other people that he was defending now instead. It was the same exact idea of like power dynamics and abuse and how you should interact with your platform and how you should interact with smaller streamers. And it like this entire thing seems like it's about the same exact thing as him getting banned from Reddit. Like it seemed like an extension of the same argument.
Yeah, it might have been, yeah.
And that argument seemed to be, it seemed to be mostly based on his feelings that he just didn't like not being able to express himself within your subreddit, and so it felt abusive to him.
Sure.
So one of the things that he said was that when Anna messages you after you send everybody to her kiwi farms, that the messages she sends is, you ruined my life, a bunch of stuff like that to him feels abusive. Okay. I think that when you look at it through that lens, like a lot of the stuff that he's putting in there all of a sudden makes sense. And I think that a lot of people, if they read it through that lens, it would make sense why he looks at it that way. Just, I don't think anybody else would call that abusive.
Sure.
Do you think, because you say that he wasn't like trying to get back at you in any way, do you not think that like played a big part in the way that he went about all of this? Is he was upset about the subreddit, he felt like that was abusive, and then tried to take the same narrative with this, and
all of that is possible, but like it might just be that like because he went through something, now it changed the way that he viewed it, so now he thought it was abusive, but not so much that he like I don't know if I would call that like, I don't know if I would say that he's like it's like personal, like a personal vendetta, I guess. I don't know how to phrase that. Did it make sense what I just said, or probably not?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I think I agree. I think that like for him it was probably personal, but he was like almost being heroic for other people to get the same point across. Because if he could get the point across with them, and how you treat, him or Lav or Anna or Cherry or any of these other people, then he could get the same exact point across with the subreddit.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Okay, and then he talks a lot about your audience being cult-like. I think cult-like is very broad, but do you agree that that's like I
have a very, very, very dedicated audience, yeah. But cult-like, in my opinion, like things that to me sound cult-like are when you try to separate people from their loved ones or support system. I think that's very cult-like. And when people treat their leader figures as like deities, like they can do no wrong. I think my community disagrees with me a healthy amount, maybe more than they should actually. And I think that they like there are going to be arguments that I have with orbiters that like the community is going to side with them more than me. Like it happens a lot with Pisco. And there are things that I do, like even the Anna stuff. A lot of people don't like that I had sex her. It's not like they were all like, oh, like Destiny can do whatever he wants, blah, blah, blah. Like some people will say that, but I mean like some fan base are always going to have some people like, yeah, I don't know. I think my fan base, given the size and activity of my fan base, I think they have a really healthy engagement of like treating me as a human, like not agreeing verbatim with every single thing I say and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like most of your subreddit is normally like people talking about something that you said and why they disagree with why you said it, and there seems to be like a healthy amount of disagreement.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be just like trying to separate people from family members or loved ones, but also like anybody who would be an opposing voice. And
yeah,
do you think you made a mistake by coming out early against Lav and MrGirl and explaining everything first?
No, absolutely not.
No?
No. If I feel like somebody is working behind the scenes to fuck with me, like especially if they're saying wild shit, like I'm sexually abusing women, I would never let that run rampant. Like that's something I'm going to come out publicly almost immediately to address and force them to make a move on. I would never let that burn behind the scenes without me saying anything about it. That's wild. Especially because I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a reason for that, or like did something happen before where like a narrative got away from you and you felt like you couldn't let that happen again, or is that just something that you feel you need to do?
Why would I let somebody talk shit about me behind the scenes and I don't know how much they're saying, and it's like insane shit, like I'm sexually abusing people? That's a wild statement. I don't think I would ever let that just go unchecked. I feel like I would have to come out and make statements about this.
Sure, but he would see that as you trying to set the narrative. Right.
To some extent, I mean, I am, yeah. But I mean, like, it's also going to vary a little bit because, like, he's already making accusations, right? Like, if he was just, like, asking questions or doing an investigation, it might have played out differently. But he's already saying that he's established this pattern. He's already saying it's something that he's observed. He's already saying that, like, he's got, like, proof and women ready to come forward. So, like, and I don't think that was true. And now, I guess, in retrospect, it wasn't true. So why would I let him poison every single person against me? Like, and imagine now seeing how long it took if I would have let that go on for months and months and months behind the scenes. Like, it already was like pretty damaging. Like,
was it? What do you think was damaging from the article?
I mean, I'll quote like MrGirl. MrGirl himself said that like when Cherry and Stardust made that accusation, even though nothing came from it, he said having just that accusation now means I'm a person with an accusation. Like it's just kind of annoying now that I've got to like talk to people in the future about like crazy people that have accused me of whatever the fuck they're even accusing me of. Like that's going to be something I'm going to always have to address basically. It's just another like scar that I've got of like random internet dramas that I've been in that I have to like keep in mind when I'm talking to people.
So you don't think that if you had let him do the thing and then just come out and like talk about it afterwards, you think that you would have, it would have been a lot more damaging from that?
I don't know. Maybe he would have felt more comfortable taking years to do that investigation if I hadn't said something publicly. I'm not sure. But I'm not gonna let somebody go behind the scenes saying that I'm like a sexually abusive person without addressing it. That's, in my opinion, that's wild.
Okay. Because yeah, you said just having the accusations out there, you threw some pretty wild accusations at him pretty early on about like him being a rapist and.
Well, that's not an accusation. He admits that. I do think he is a rapist. But I mean, like, I'll say that based on all the publicly available stuff. I'm not going to say I've got like 20 women secretly ready to come forward. Which is the difference. If he would have come out and said like, oh, like I think Destiny is abusive because of like Anna and Nia Rose, okay, fine, whatever. But when he's saying shit like I've got like women behind the scenes like ready to come forward and shit that just need like and he was tweeting out as much too. He's like, there's a lot of women that want to come out, or it feels like there's a lot of women that want to come out, but they're too scared because of retaliation from Destiny's fan base. Like when you're saying shit like this, like yeah, that's fucking wild.
He does admit to being a rapist, but I think if you had seen that video before you guys had your falling out, I don't think you would have called that rape. Do you? Like
even when I watched the video and we were friends, and I welcome you if you're doing a video on this, like go back and find my initial response. But I'm pretty sure even when we were friends, when I saw that initial video, I'm pretty sure I was like, and that was when I hadn't even seen the really bad one. I just seen like the kind of bad one. I'm pretty sure even when that came out, I was like, oof, like you're playing very, very, very dangerously here when you do stuff like this. Like I think I want to say I even say that you're like a stone's throw away from basically raping somebody if you're not careful. I think I said something like that when I went over it. So it was a pretty wild video. Like, but you can find like my original response. I'm playing Dyson Sphere program in the background, so maybe that's somewhere.
It is but it seems like the issue is that he's like almost prescribing this to other people, right? Like that is the issue, at least that I had with it, is that he's like explaining this as though it's almost a prescription for other people that like if somebody says no, just go ahead and do it anyways. Whereas like I think we all understand the scenario that he's talking about where somebody is saying no but meaning yes. Like if we're like, you know, socially aware, like we all know that these sorts of scenarios exist. And so that instance doesn't actually sound like rape, but it does sound like pretty iffy to suggest that other
I might have
people
even said like
like
this
that.
sounds kind of rapey. I think I might have actually said that, but yeah.
Okay, well, and then you also said that his you said some things about Shaylin like being an abuse victim, or
I
being
100%
like,
believe that. Yeah.
do you? Why?
I don't think she works a job. I think he's her sole means of income. I think that based on the videos that I've seen, he's very abusive. There's like a very standard formula to a max fight that basically goes, he does something that can be insulting or offensive to his partner. The partner has an incredibly understandable response to something incredibly innocuous. Max turns that innocuous response up into a massive fight. As he's doing that, he makes his partner feel incredibly horrible. Then he makes his partner feel bad for feeling bad and for responding poorly to him blowing up at it. And then he makes them feel like they need to apologize by the end of that interaction. I think that that's like a super formulaic Max response to everything. I think he's done this at other people, like even during conversations. But I think that, yeah, definitely for his relationship with Shaylin, like that thing out in the parking lot or whatever, like fights like that just seemed like super typical.
Okay, I think he said before that she doesn't depend on him for income, so I don't know about that.
They say that, but he says that in a very, very, very cagey way. I don't believe it. So this is my guess, and they're always welcome to release stuff to prove you wrong, but they won't. And maybe for good reasons, even they don't have to. But I think that he is her sole employer, and his response back is always that she doesn't rely on him. I think what that means is I think she has a wealthy family that she could go back to if she needed to. I think that's what it means. But I'm pretty sure he is her only employer. He is her boss. He pays her money for commissions for her stream stuff, and I don't even know if she very actively does commissions for other people. So it seems strange that she's like part of his content. He is her employer, and they live together, and he comes off as really abusive. Like, That seems very strange to me.
If it turned out that she actually had like a full-time job that she worked, or she was making more than enough money off of art, would you change your mind on whether or not she was in an abusive scenario?
No, but at least I know it's a little less abusive, at least, or she has like a higher propensity to leave.
So what else do you think would have her stuck there? Because earlier that's what you were saying would be like an important characteristic of whether or not something is abusive, is them being stuck there, right?
I think his default mode of communication with people is abusive. The way that he demands people like ultimately account for and make space for his feelings, that they're always completely rational and justified, and his emotional outbursts are rational and justified. And the fact that people need to create an inordinate amount of space for him in disagreement, his complete and total apparent unwillingness to ever take care of a partner's feelings ever. The emotional outbursts that he has when he is perceived as slighted. So when Shaylin wears like shoes that he doesn't like to the store, the fact that he thinks that gives him credence to like call her an idiot and scream at her, and then get upset for him because she's not making enough space for him to scream at her and call her an idiot, or names in those conversations. I think that all of these are like hallmarks of like abusive partners.
Yeah, I'll say this. When I was younger, I was a con man for a long time, and he like the tactics that he uses are so blatant. I would have been like embarrassed to be that forward with with manipulating people. So it's a bit too obvious with him. So I think one thing that people who defend you agree was abusive was like your back and forth with Anna for a long time, and especially like threatening to leak nudes. I understand that you were threatening to leak nudes in response to sexual.
Yeah, I just don't
DMs
agree with that. I think it's really weird that people call that blackmail. Like if you and I had like sexted or something, or traded nudes, and you were like, I'm gonna leak your nudes, and I go, fuck you, if you leak my nudes, I'm gonna leak your nudes. Is that like blackmail, or is that like abusive? I disagree. But I mean, like, I understand some people might disagree with me on that, but yeah, I think it's weird to say that that's like blackmail.
I agree with you, but wouldn't that depend on like how proportionate it is to what they're responding to?
What do you mean?
Like, if I say, I'm gonna call you stupid, and you're like, you call me stupid, I'm gonna leak your DMs, like, or
that could theoretically be like overkill. Yeah, it would depend on the situation, but that could be, sure.
So do you think that leaking sexting and leaking nudes is proportional, or do you think it's a proportional response in the way that you're reacting to that?
I think it's about proportional. Yeah. Thanks.
Why would you say it's
because you're leaking like sexual material and shit from another person? Yeah, fuck it. I think it's proportional.
So you think so when you say you think it's proportional, you mean I am like raising the stakes to a proportional level, or you think like it's pretty even across the board?
I think it's pretty even. If I was sexting with some girl and she was sending me some fucking DMs about like a daddy-daughter fetish or some shit, and I leaked those like sex to the public, and she starts leaking my nudes, I can't imagine me being like, oh my god, like why would you leak my nudes? I'd be like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, I'm leaking her sex. Why the fuck wouldn't she leak my nudes? That would be my thought process. But maybe not everybody feels that way, but that's how I would feel 100%.
Yeah, the reason that I think differently on this is because, like, especially somebody's face being in a picture and knowing that it's them, seeing their naked body, I think that is a lot more intimate than just seeing like text on a screen, because like you actually have like their identity in that picture. And then on top of that, I would assume that it would cost her a lot more if she wanted to be like a therapist in the future to have that kind of that one-way relationship with clients kind of being taken away, where they have like very intimate information on her if they found it on the internet. I think that she would have a lot more to lose in a scenario where she's leaking sexting and you're leaking nudes.
Oh, I mean, some people might think that. I disagree, but I mean, I understand, I guess. I see your point.
You don't think that she has more to lose in that scenario? Like, you think that people were...
I mean, she could have more to lose, but I just don't see the huge difference between, like, sex and nudes. Like, you're leaking, like, personal, like, sexual shit that somebody sent you and, like, trusted you with. Like, in my opinion, this is, like, one of the biggest forms of, like, weird, like, backstabbing shit that you can do. It's, like, one of the worst things a person can do is, like, leaking, like, private sexual shit like that.
It is, but in a nutshell, like, yeah, in a vacuum. But if we're taking into consideration like broader context, which I assume we would if we're looking at how this affects the other person and whether or not like it's proportional, I would assume that we would take into consideration how much sexting would affect you and your career and your personal relationships, and then how much nudes would affect her career, and her personal
how much would it affect it if people knew that she was leaking personal information as a therapist? I feel like that would be the more damaging thing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think that anybody thinks that you guys had a confidential relationship, but
Wait, what do you mean by that? Our sexual interactions are confidential, of course.
Sure, but that's obviously very different, like a personal relationship versus a client-therapist relationship, right?
Oh, I don't know, actually. I'm not sure. Like, if you were to ask somebody, if somebody were to find out that their therapist, like, leaked, like, private DMs from somebody, would that affect them? I don't know. Who just joined?
Tabor.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that they might trust the therapist less, if that's what you're saying. Like, if they found out that they leaked something.
Sure. But, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I understand your point of view. You're free to disagree. I mean, I think if you were to poll the audience, I think only like 30% of people would even agree with my take that sexting and nudes are the same. More people actually might be bothered by the nude leaking thing than the sexting thing. That wouldn't surprise me. So, I understand I might be in a minority position there, but that's how I view it.
I'm aware I'm free to disagree. I don't even know whether or not I disagree. I'm more so like pushing back to try to understand your point of view more.
I just think like once you've gotten to a point where you're leaking like personal sexual details, I think you're at like that level. Like I don't know how much more. Like I don't know if I consider like nudes an escalation from like sexting, depending on like what you're leaking, in my opinion.
So when I mentioned like somebody's face being in it, their personhood actually, like their identity being attached to this photo.
I mean, my identity is attached to like sexual DMs, right?
Somewhat, but I don't think it's perceived the same way. Like, I don't think somebody would look at you differently by looking at DMs that way, whereas
Absolutely,
they can actually like
could.
see
of course
somebody
they
naked.
Could. People can look at you differently depending on what's like. What if I had like a fucking diaper fetish, and that got leaked? I think people would look at me a lot different of a way. I think there'd be a lot of conversations relating to like my personal messages if that was the case.
Sure, I didn't look at your
little tyke
sexting.
tweets would have a lot more meaning then.
Based. True, actually.
I didn't look at y'all sexting messages, so I don't know. Was there something released in there that you didn't like want out, or that you would have been?
Well, I don't want any of it out. I think it's kind of weird that any of that would be out ever, but regardless, I'm just saying that like that is a case. But like also like yeah, I don't know. That's just my feeling on it. Like, I mean, I've had people leak dick pics of me that I didn't want, along with logs trying to claim I was a pedophile. I've also had people leak sex of me now. And in my personal opinion, I think both like feel pretty shitty, and they both feel like pretty similar to me. It's like, oh, that's pretty fucking annoying. But I mean, it's all like sexual shit that like I think is for a private person, and they violate your trust by leaking that shit. And it's like, oh, that kind of sucks. But I mean, I don't know. I just, in my mind, we're looping on this. In my mind, it's not going to be like, yeah, there's not going to be like a huge difference between the two.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I don't really have a position on this. I'm just trying to understand your position better. I don't know if I actually do, but yeah, I don't think I have anything else. I talking to MrGirl was very difficult. Talking to you is a lot more easy because you actually answer my questions and don't tell me that you don't like the way I worded a question, or that you don't like the type of questions that I'm asking or something like that. So
thanks. I try my best, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Do you have any questions for me before I go?
I don't think so. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think that's everything.
Okay. Well.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Yeah, be careful, bud.